The American president, Donald Trump, has finally delivered that long-awaited address about Russia, and some people were disappointed by it, while others, on the contrary, were pleased. But as you know, this address was also fueled by Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who assured everyone that Trump would be very aggressive in this address. And that's it. The era when Russia could act with impunity is completely over. In particular, Trump stated that the United States would impose secondary sanctions on Russia and its partners, but only if there is no deal on Ukraine within 50 days. As Trump states, the tariff rate will be at least 100%. And this applies both to Russia and to those countries that buy oil, gas, and other products from Russia. In addition, Trump stated that the United States and the European Union have reached an agreement to supply weapons to Ukraine through NATO, and he says that the cost for these weapons will fall entirely on Europe. The coordination of American weapons supplies to Ukraine will be handled by NATO and the permanent representative of the United States to the alliance. In addition, Trump again recalled that he spent $350 billion on the war between Russia and Ukraine, and he says we would like it to finally end. And here's something encouraging. Trump assures that Ukraine will feel that it has become stronger and stronger. It can count on 17 Patriot systems that are being prepared for shipment, and according to Trump, most of them will be on the battlefield in Ukraine. What's important is that Trump finally admitted that Putin is clearly leading him by the nose and says that after talking to Putin, quote, I hang up the phone and say, that was a wonderful conversation. And then missiles fly at Kyiv. Conversations with Putin don't matter. It seemed to me that we had already made an agreement 4 times and now we're still talking about making it. And then Trump says that Putin, of course, is a scoundrel. He's the kind of guy who deceived both Bush, Obama, and Joe Biden, but he says he definitely won't deceive me. And as Trump says, the talking should end and action should begin. Let's now go through the main points of Donald Trump's statements in this high-profile address about Russia, which we've all been waiting for so long. And the key point that has outraged many right now is these 50 days that are given to Putin to make a deal. But now some analysts have already pointed out that Trump once gave Iran 60 days to make a deal. And when that deadline expired, bombs really did start falling on Iranian nuclear facilities. And they say, what if Trump snaps and starts hitting Moscow in exactly the same way? Especially since there are already rumors that Washington is indeed ready to provide Ukraine with long-range air-launched missiles that could even reach Moscow. Let's take it one step at a time. I'm Alexei Pechi. Trump spoke on July 14th. And right away, I'll ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comment you want, and subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. There, even before this video was released, I had already published Donald Trump's main statements online. So, as I announced on this channel, today NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte came to Washington, where he met with Donald Trump, United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Senators Graham and Blumenthal. And after that, Mark Rutte and Donald Trump held a joint press conference, where Trump made a whole series of statements. And here's the first thing Trump drew attention to. He stated that he is very dissatisfied with Russia's actions and threatened 100% tariffs for the war against Ukraine. As Donald Trump stated, quote, if we do not reach an agreement within 50 days, we will impose very tough tariffs, about 100%. You call them secondary tariffs, do you know what that means? He reiterated his disappointment with Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, saying, quote, I thought we had already made a deal 2 months ago, but it seems that it still hasn't happened yet. Here, Trump went on to complain that he thought they were about to make such a deal, but it happened about 4 times. But it turns out, he says, we're still talking about it. Then Trump confirmed the deal to supply the largest batch of military equipment for NATO and Ukraine. Trump confirmed that he agreed to the deal to supply weapons to Ukraine, as he boasts that the United States produces the best military equipment in the world. So, the new equipment will be manufactured by Americans for NATO. NATO will purchase all these weapons and then they will be sent to Ukraine. Next is a quote from Donald Trump. We produce the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. European countries know this, and today we made a deal. European countries know this, and today we made a deal, and I will ask Mark Rutte to speak about it. But today we made a deal under which we will send them weapons and they will pay for it. We, the United States, will not receive any checks. That means we will not pay for it. We are not buying it, but we will produce it and they will pay for it. That is the scheme we discussed with you. Earlier, Mark Rutte stated that Ukraine will receive a huge amount of military equipment under the agreement with the United States. And he says that it really is a lot. According to him, Trump called him back on Thursday and said that he wants to give Ukraine what it needs. But he asked the Europeans to pay for all these weapons, which he thinks is completely logical. After that, Europeans became more active. Mark Rutte said that he contacted many countries that intended to take part in this deal. And among others, he mentioned Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Canada. And as he stated, this is only the first wave of participants who will allocate funds to purchase American weapons for Ukraine. He says there will be more countries, but he cannot name them yet as negotiations are ongoing. Then Mark Rutte added that NATO will work through its systems to make sure we know what the Ukrainians need. Next is his quote. This will mean that Ukraine will be able to get its hands on a truly huge amount of military equipment, both for air defense and missiles and ammunition. In addition, Mark Rutte added that Putin should take Donald Trump's warning seriously. Mark Rutte says, quote, if I were Vladimir Putin today and you, he's addressing Trump, were talking about what you plan to do in 50 days. And about this statement, I would reconsider my opinion and think, shouldn't I take the negotiations on Ukraine more seriously than I do now? Well, that is, Mark Rutte hinted that this is indeed a serious warning, that supposedly Putin has another 50 days to finally sign a peace agreement. Otherwise, there will be these tough sanctions. If the sanctions are implemented the way Blumenthal and Graham are pushing them, they will really be tough sanctions. Because first and foremost, they are aimed not even at Russia itself, but at China, India, Brazil, Turkey, and other countries that continue to buy Russian oil, gas, petroleum products, uranium, and so on. And the bill clearly states that secondary sanctions will be imposed against these countries. And they will have to choose. Either they trade with the Americans or they continue to buy energy resources from Putin. But they will be completely cut off not only from the American market, but also from the Western market. Because the Europeans are ready to support this idea. Then Trump takes the floor again and says that this needs to stop, but now he's addressing Putin. Did he repeat his warning that United States tariffs would be biting, or literally bitey, and would hit the Russian economy? Well, and he says, and this of course is concerning. Next is a quote that made me uneasy. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I've heard so much already. This is just Putin's empty talk. And then rockets fly over Kyiv and kill 60 people in a single day. This needs to end. This needs to end. The deal is broader than just Patriots for Ukraine. We'll get to the Patriots, but later. Trump says that the Patriot batteries will be sent within a few days. He says this will significantly influence Russia's stance in the negotiations. Next, Mark Rutte takes the floor and criticizes Russia for attacks that do not pursue military objectives, but simply create panic by attacking Ukrainian cities. And Trump agrees with this. Then, he repeatedly praises NATO after his recent participation in the Alliance Summit in The Hague. And then, Trump adds, we had several days of very intense negotiations. And they are wonderful people, Europeans. They are leaders of their countries, real leaders. Many of them are great countries, some are smaller countries, but mostly these are very strong, powerful, and very successful countries. Some of them are among the most successful countries in the world. And so on. He expressed hope that this decision to send Patriot systems would influence Russia and Vladimir Putin. As Trump stated, 17 Patriot systems are being prepared for shipment to NATO countries, and then NATO will deploy them on the territory of Ukraine. But it is unknown how many of these 17 will actually reach Ukraine. And Rutte kind of interrupts Trump and emphasizes that Ukraine wants a peace agreement, saying that Ukraine has wanted this since day one. Trump says that it's still a very deadly war, and that he thought, quote, we had a deal on Ukraine about 4 times, but in the end it didn't work out. It keeps happening over and over, and every night a lot of people die. Well, and Trump repeats once again that the Patriot batteries will be sent within a few days. Then Trump states that he wants to end the war in Ukraine quickly. Trump admits that Europe is determined to wage this war, although according to him, he didn't realize it at first. Next is a quote from Trump. They, the Europeans, really think this is a very, very important matter, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. Listen, they just agree, to pay for everything. I want to make one more statement. I've already said this isn't Donald Trump's war. We're here to try to finish and resolve this issue. And then Trump stated that he's always ready to discuss trade with the European Union. He kind of drifted away from that topic. Then they brought him back to the agenda and he started complaining about the dictator Putin again. So Trump was asked how far he is willing to go to put an end to this war. So he emphasizes that not a single American will die there, hinting that he definitely won't be sending American troops. He won't go that far. But he suggests the need for intervention because, in his words, a strong Europe is very good for America. Trump said that he spoke with Germany and most of the major European countries. As he states, they are truly enthusiastic, they want this war to end, and they are ready to go very far. Well, hinting that America won't send its own soldiers, but is ready to provide Europe with everything necessary to defeat Putin. And then Trump says that, Putin is all talk, He says, I talk to Putin a lot, but it's just empty words. And here's another quote from Trump. I talk to Putin a lot about how to do this, how to stop the war. And I always hang up and say, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched at Kiev or some other city in Ukraine. And when this happens 3 or 4 times, you say conversations don't mean anything anymore? My conversations with them are always very pleasant, a wonderful talk. And then that same night, missiles explode. I come home and tell the First Lady that today I spoke with Vladimir Putin and we had a wonderful conversation. And she said to me, oh really? Another city has just been hit. Then he talks about Putin, quote, I don't want to say he's a killer, but he's a tough guy. And he adds that Putin deceived previous presidents, Bush, Obama, Biden, but him, he says, he definitely won't deceive. And then Trump expresses hope that Putin will make an honest deal, saying that he knows what an honest deal is. Trump is going overboard again, but I enjoyed the part about the First Lady. So Trump says, imagine I'm talking to Putin, he's flattering me, and I tell everyone publicly, listen, we had a great conversation, it looks like we're close to an honest, peaceful deal. Everything's fine. I come home, tell my First Lady about it, and the First Lady watches the news and says, listen, right now another Ukrainian city is being shelled by that same Vladimir Putin you had such a great conversation with. I like that remark. And closer to the end of the briefing. By the way, the briefing lasted about half an hour. Trump talks there about some internal issues, repeatedly praises his administration, so I'm skipping those parts. And at the very end, he adds a kind of praise for Mark Rutte, calling him a star. And that's basically where the briefing ends. So if we go over the main points once again, Trump states that he is very, very dissatisfied with Russia and threatens to impose additional tariffs of up to 100% if progress on a peace agreement is not achieved within 50 days. Trump states that all of this must stop. He criticizes all of Putin's talk, says that Putin is all talk, and says that, Putin can speak beautifully, but at the same time he is attacking Ukraine. Trump confirmed an agreement with NATO allies, mainly from Europe, on the delivery of new weapons that will help Ukraine, including Patriot systems and missiles for them, which, according to Trump, will be sent within a few days and paid for by the allies. Mark Rutte states that Ukraine will receive a truly massive amount of air defense military equipment and missiles to fight back against Russia, and urges Putin to take Trump's warning seriously. And separately, Trump states that he is still open to trade negotiations with the European Union, saying that European Union representatives will soon come to Washington to continue the talks. In general, this is the main point of Donald Trump's entire address. In my opinion, there's nothing more to take from this because, once again, there was a lot of empty talk, domestic politics, praise for Donald Trump's administration, and so on. I highlighted what's important for Ukraine, discussed it with you, and quoted what Donald Trump said. I urge you to subscribe to the Telegram channel as news sometimes comes out there faster, my friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel. You can do this with any donation on platforms like Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal, sponsorship to bank details, or even a crypto wallet. All the links and details are in the description of this video or by the QR code on your screens. I would appreciate your support. I would also be grateful if you subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you get notifications about new episodes. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.